It seems like the attempt that we made previously did not work. So we are doing this again. So if you watched the live broadcast, we're redoing it because it stopped after a minute.
Well, so people will have seen that live, but we just couldn't upload it. So people have already seen it. Some people maybe have seen it, but there's nothing to upload.
What are you talking about uploading?
Well, the upload failed. Well, something failed. We're doing it again.
I don't know if it stopped the live recording or if it stopped.
Well, I don't like doing it again.
So anyway, where we got to in terms of the recording was that I wanted to talk about how I've noticed a quirk while we're in this isolation state that I hadn't noticed previously of yours.
Yes.
And you were feeling uncomfortable that I was bringing up a quirk.
Yes, and I'm still not quirk ready. I still don't have a retaliatory quirk to throw in your direction.
Well, you've had even more time. You should have had that figured out by now.
I should have thought that if we're doing it again, I would have come to the table more than ready.
So anyway, we don't even know if this is actually working, but at least it's recording.
Okay.
So the quirk that I have noticed. So every morning, Angus gets up and he makes his matcha green tea latte. It's quite the scientific experiment where you seem to have refined it to a certain level where you're very happy with it. But the thing that I'm noticing that you do that I'd never noticed before is when you take a sip of it, and I don't know if it's only on the first sip of it or if it's generally throughout as you're sipping it, but I notice on the first sip of it that you have this little Hannibal Lecter quirk of going.
That is such an exaggeration.
Well, you're the king of hyperbole, so I should be allowed to get away with some hyperbole.
I think it is a very subtle swill, if anything. If I did that, it would be dribbling down my face.
Well, I've never noticed your subtle swill of green tea in the morning.
Okay.
So.
Well, I do now feel like I know why I perhaps do that. I think it's a sort of subconscious reflex, because I think I get to the point where the tea starts to cool, and I don't like the taste of the tea when it's somewhat cold. So I think I'm trying to sort of swill it around in my mouth to heat it up.
You're still sticking to that story, but the thing is, when I first mentioned this to you, you said it was because the tea was too hot.
No, I don't know that that's true.
So you lied to me then.
Well, I don't know. I guess we have our separate realities, don't we?
Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. Perfect segue. So
see how I did that?
Was that on purpose?
Yes.
So I wanted to talk about separate realities because I think it's so helpful, especially in relationships, and especially probably during this time of being in isolation, when we're spending a lot of time with loved ones. And what I mean when we're saying separate realities is that we all live in our own subjective reality that is based on our personal thinking that we're identifying with in the moment. And not only are our personal experiences fluid, the difference between realities between two people can be subtle or it can be quite extreme.
That's true.
And understanding that
especially when it comes to green tea.
Yes, is a great example. And so understanding that we live in separate realities oftentimes results in less conflict between couples, because it's not like one reality is right and one reality is wrong. It's like, that's what my experience is in the moment. That's what your experience is in the moment. And that's just experience based on how we're seeing life in that moment. And so if they're both right, then there's no conflict. We don't have to agree with it, but there's no need to get onto a position and try and convince the other person to be in your reality, like I know I've done with you in the past. And
your reality sucks.
And there isn't a hierarchy of realities. It's just we each live in that experience. And when we're in a low mood, our reality reflects that low mood, just like our personal consciousness night kind of contracts, and we see things through a lens of darkness at that point in time. And then when our mind opens and we see things more with an open mind, we see a different reality. So just seeing the subjective nature of reality for each one of us is really helpful. But it can seem kind of theoretical. So we wanted to share an example of separate realities or not separate realities, and also how we live in the reality of our own thoughts, to just show how practical and obvious it is every day.
Yes.
Do you know the example I'm
I
talking
do
about?
now
Because we've
because
talked about
I'm
it.
ready for it now.
Go
It's not
ahead.
taking me by surprise. So once upon a time, many moons ago, we found ourselves in Whole Foods as a family for some strange reason. I guess maybe we were dealing with young teenagers at that point, because I don't think we would be in Whole Foods as a family.
And I'm curious, what's the relevance of being there as a family?
I'm not just trying to set the scene.
Oh, thank you. You're a good storyteller.
Okay, so let me handle my storytelling without interference. So anyway, so there we are with the whole family's in Whole Foods. It's the end of the day. It doesn't seem like there's many people shopping. I guess it was a Sunday night, I want to say. And so for me, going into Whole Foods, I mean, it's fine with the kids, but with Rohini, it's like going into a public library, because she has to read every frigging label, and she finds new products that she's never seen before, and she needs to investigate them, probably needs to get her phone out and Google this new vitamin or whatever it is. So I tend to look for ways and means to entertain myself. So anyway,
Let it be said that Angus doesn't usually go shopping at Whole Foods with me very often.
I don't like going shopping Whole Foods with Rohini. It's boring. So anyway, in my attempts to look for ways and means to entertain myself, I find myself ambling around the store. Ambling? Would I amble around the store? I was ambling around the store. And then I thought I caught a sight of Rohini looking at some greeting cards. And so so she was standing in front of the greeting cards, perched over at this sort of funny angle with her head propped over to one side. So I went up alongside her and kind of mimicked or mirrored her stance and got really close to her. So there are two people sort of standing like this with the head cocked to one side.
And were you actually touching me?
No, I wasn't touching you, but I was very close. And the whole store was empty, so that made the whole thing rather strange. And now I'm going to let you know why it was somewhat strange, because it wasn't Rohini. It was the security guard, and the security guard was obviously dressed from head to foot in black. And on this particular occasion, Rohini was also dressed to head to foot in black. And I guess the security guard had jet black hair and was quite slender, so I mistook him for a Rohini. And so the brilliant thing was, here we are, two people sort of like cocked over to one side, and then we both simultaneously looked at one another, and I went, "Oh, you're not my wife." And the crazy thing was, I just left it at that. I just walked away. I didn't even try or attempt to explain myself. So I imagine I don't know, he probably was bewildered and also insulted simultaneously.
Or he's wondering, what on earth does your wife look like?
I don't know. Or why would this man think I'm a woman?
Yes. And as Angus was doing this, I was starting to walk towards him, and I could see him standing really close to this guy. And I'm thinking, why is he doing that? But to me, that's just a really funny example of Angus living in his own thinking. And in that moment, that security guard was me. In his mind, that's the reality he was living. It doesn't mean that it wasn't the reality, but it was, I think, just an example, more of an exaggerated example of how we can get caught up in thought, live in the reality of that, live in the experience of that, and then we act accordingly the way you did. And then reality changes. We get new information, our mind opens up, and like, oh, you're not my wife.
And what I should have said after that was, I said, but would you be willing to be?
Some courting ritual. So when we see this, what I find really helpful about this is that it just helps me to take my experience a whole lot less seriously. And even this weekend, it was really helpful because we were kind of both in low moods, and you were saying something, and I was sort of like, oh, starting to consider it. And then I said to you, well, do I actually need to really consider what you're saying right now? Are you in your right mind? And he wasn't. And I'm like, okay, well, then I don't need to consider that. I'm not going to problem solve something along those lines. And it just makes the navigating of separate realities easier when you understand that's what you're navigating, and you understand that experience is going to shift, and you don't need to sort of get caught up in solving for all the negative things you see when you're in a low mood, because as soon as you get into a more clear state of mind, you realize that you're okay and that there's nothing wrong. So it just saves a lot of time and energy on the personal level, and it absolutely helps with rapport and relationship, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I like what you said earlier about it being, the reality is fluid, because I think that, in those situations when I get into a low mood and I tend to react from that place. At that point, my reality is so not fluid. It's actually, I'm dealing more with a kind of a stagnant pool of thought, which I want to kind of hold in place. That is my position. That is the soapbox that I get in, that position of righteousness. But knowing and understanding that my reality is fluid, I can just not trust that state of mind, or trust the thinking that comes on board that state of mind, and it will pass. And I just have to trust that I will come back into balance and find my equilibrium, and that's kind of like the natural order of things. But where we get into trouble is I get, that's my fixed reality. That's the misunderstanding.
We think it is in the moment. We forget that it's going to change. And what happens for me is when I'm more understanding of the subjective nature of my personal experience in the moment, there's less identification with it and more of a feeling of connection with what's beyond that, more of a feeling of connection with my loving essence. And for me, that is reassuring, it's comforting, and it helps me to navigate all of the ups and downs that come my way in terms of my personal psychology, and just helps me to have more perspective on it, and to be more kind and compassionate with myself, even to not judge myself, and to know that it's not my fault that I have moods that go up and down. It's not my fault that, human beings are made this way, just like, I have that experience just like anybody else does. And so I think it just helps us to be more gentle and kind, and to navigate the personal human experience in a way that causes less suffering for ourselves, because we don't take that part so seriously, and we look to see what's beyond that and feel the deeper truth and the deeper feelings that are available to us when we see beyond what is subjective.
Yes. Well said. The clock is running down. It's nearly 10 o'clock.
Yes,
and
I know.
We got fish to fry. So we can wrap this up.
All right. Well, have a great weekend, everybody. And if you have any quirks that you're noticing with people in your life that you're isolating with that are funny to share, please do share, because I love all of the upliftment of laughter and fun and joy. So hopefully you got a laugh out of Angus's security guard experience. And we're just sending you both of our love. Take care.
Okay, take care.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, wait, one second.
What? Now you know what I'm living with. Bye.
It is cold.